Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to DreamWorks Switch to Life. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the very first Madagascar movie. And yes, I really enjoyed it because obviously this is one of DreamWorks' peak franchises, since it managed to get a whopping total of 3 TV shows and 4 movies. Fun fact, it was actually the very first DreamWorks franchise to get a TV show, which made it DreamWorks' longest running franchise for over a decade until it eventually lost the title to How to Train Your Dragon in 2023. And out of all of DreamWorks' many movies that they made where they had talking animals, this one is probably the best. So with that in mind, let's talk about it. First off, the animation. The animation for this movie is actually extremely good. There is, however, one critique that I do have. The character models and how sometimes they kind of look polygamy. Like, I don't know about you, but fingers aren't really supposed to be that square, are they? But you know what? We kind of have to let it slide, and I really enjoyed it. Not only does it mean that the characters in this film are more unique compared to other talking animal movies, but also this movie came out when I was just 2 years old, so I grew up with these characters and I literally cannot imagine them looking different. And to be honest, I really enjoy how great the animation quality is. Granted, again, while the characters do seem a little polygamy, at the same time they do seem fleshed out. Like, you can see all the detailing that goes into their fur and whatnot. And speaking of the characters, I also want to talk about their voice acting, which is really good. Granted, a lot of them have some really cool A-list voice actors, but honestly, the voice acting was really good because of I just really enjoy how a lot of the characters delivered their lines. And as for the music in this movie is awesome. Not only the background music, which is really cool, sometimes it's like hope-inspiring, other times it's spy thriller, especially when it comes to the penguin scenes. But for the most part, the real music that's enjoyable is all the pop culture music that's included. And of course, I can't talk about the music without mentioning
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Yeah, I like to move it.
And of course, there's the humor for this movie, which I definitely enjoyed. There are tons and tons of jokes littered throughout this movie, so it's bound to make you laugh at one point or another. But honestly, the story is where this movie really shines. So let's talk about it. The story is that Alex the lion, Marty the zebra, Gloria the hippo, and Melman the giraffe make up our Madagascar gang. And at the start of the movie, they're living in the Central Park Zoo in New York City, and they kind of have their own lives going on despite being best friends. Alex is pretty much the star of the zoo and is the self-proclaimed king of New York, and he just puts on a show for hundreds of adoring fans. His lion habitat is pretty much a stage for everyone to see. And then you got Marty, who is kind of just a zebra doing his own thing, and he's not too happy about that. It's just one day after another. And while he does get inspiration from Alex to start spicing up his act, and he even puts on a show where he spews out water, which to be honest is actually a really cool show. The problem is that Marty is celebrating his 10th birthday, meaning that his life is half over. I'm guessing that means zebras only have a 20-year lifespan, and that means that he's pretty much wasted half his life, and now he actually wants to go and start living it. Problem is, he can't really do that in the zoo. Meanwhile, we also have Gloria, the hippo, who's just doing her own thing in her hippo tank, showing off for the people. And then you have Melman the giraffe, who is a bit of a worrywart. He's always thinking that he has the next big disease, and he's always getting examined by doctors, and honestly, I just feel sorry for the guy.
Melman, you know it's all in your head.
And we also meet the penguins, Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and Private. And the 4 of them are trying to escape the Central Park Zoo. And they even go so far as to dig a tunnel into the zebra habitat where they have a conversation with Marty about going to the wild. And this inspires Marty to actually want to go to the wild so that he can start living his life. So when the Madagascar gang celebrates Marty's birthday, they realize that Marty wishes that he could go to the wild, and they do try to talk him out of it, even Melman going so far as to, if you want open spaces, you could just go to Connecticut. So Marty ends up sneaking out of the zoo so that he can go to Connecticut, and when the gang realizes that's what's happening, everybody pretty much leaves the zoo. Alex, Melman, and Gloria go on the train after him, and then Phil and Mason, a couple of random monkeys, just follow them. And of course, the penguins, who are the cause of this, were already outside of the zoo. Unfortunately, all of these animals are captured by the police when they sneak out into Grand Central Station.
If you have any poo, fling it now.
And this leads to them all getting caught by animal control, at which point zoo rights activist decides that these animals escaped the zoo because they clearly want freedom, so they decide to ship off all these animals to Africa, which is really weird if you ask me, because I really understand if you send a lion, zebra, hippo, giraffe, all those guys, they can go to Africa, but the penguins, they gotta go to Antarctica, and yet they're being shipped in a container that says,
Ship to Kenya. Wildlife Preserve, Africa.
Africa? That ain't gonna fly.
So the penguins hijack their boat, and during this, the Madagascar gang is bickering with one another because they're blaming Marty for running away from the zoo, which caused all of them to get transferred. And you know what? That's really where the movie shines. Not so much with its story, but more so with the characters themselves, how they interact with one another. That's really where this movie is actually great. But thanks to a combination of Alex's brute force breaking the strap and the penguins' hijacking of the ship and changing course, all of the Madagascar gang's crates go overboard into the ocean, and so they're now castaways. Somehow, all four of them manage to make it to the island of Madagascar, you know, the name of the movie, and they end up reuniting, and then they discover where they are. At first, they think they're in the San Diego Zoo, but after meeting with a bunch of lemurs, including the ever-so-famous King Julian,
Please feel free to bask in my glow.
Definitely a squirrel.
Yep, squirrel.
they end up realizing that they're in the wild.
They're up there.
Don't you love the people? Not a very lively bunch, though.
So for Marty, this is kind of a paradise dream come true, but for the rest of the gang, they all want to go home to New York, especially Alex because he's missing his adoring fans, and also Melman, who's like worried that he's going to die without a doctor. So the problem is that Alex is used to eating cut up steak, so he doesn't even realize where his food source comes from. He doesn't know he's supposed to eat meat, and meat comes from animals.
There's certainly none of this in the wild. This is a highly refined type of food thing that you do not find in the wild.
So everybody else, they're eating herbs and plants and they're all being happy. But Alex, he can't really digest that stuff, so he's getting a little bit cranky and eventually his natural instincts take over. And while all that's going on, King Julian comes up with a genius idea to use the New York Giants, yeah, fun reference there, to give them paradise so that they will help chase off the Fusa, the lemur's natural predators. And while that does work for the most part, with them throwing parties and even going so far as to make Alex king because he misses being the king of New York, even though King Julian is clearly the far superior king.
If he's a king, then where's his crown? I've got the crown, got a very nice one. And it's here on my head. Look at it. Have I got it done?
Alex's natural instincts takes over and he starts seeing all of his friends as meat sources. And so...
Excuse me? You're biting my butt!
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
After getting into an argument, Alex's instincts keep taking over because he's still hungry, and he ends up attacking his friends, and thus he turns into a monster. And even when he realizes what he's doing, he tries to isolate himself so that he won't hurt his friends, and he literally just plans to starve himself to death. And so Marty, Gloria, and Melman are worried about Alex, but luckily they hear the boat full of people coming to rescue them after being stranded on Madagascar for so long. Except the people aren't actually on the boat. It's the boat taken over by the penguins.
Oh, man, where are the people?
We killed them and ate their livers. Gotcha, didn't I?
So they went to Antarctica, to return to their ancestral homeland, and it turns out they don't like Antarctica. So they decide to stop somewhere tropical, and the first place that they get to happens to be Madagascar. But they recognize the Madagascar gang, and they look for their monochromatic friend, Marty. But Marty had already run off so that he could try to find Alex to tell him that the people have come to help. And unfortunately, the people aren't there, so Marty is literally running into danger. So the penguins and Gloria and Melman come up with a plan to rescue Marty from Alex and the rest of the Fusa on the predator side of the island. But Marty manages to find Alex, and he tries to talk some sense into him, and I really enjoy how they go about that. He just tries to get Alex to remember the good times that they had back in New York, even going so far as to sing their signature song.
Start spreading the news. I don't know you.
I'm leaving today.
We are a great big part of it.
Come on. You know the words. 2 little words.
New York.
New York.
And while it looks like it's working at first, that's when the Fusa attack Marty. And so Alex just reverts back to his natural instincts and begins the hunt. And I really enjoy the Fusa here because the Fusa are both dumb and savage, but they also work together as a pack, and they manage to have enough smarts to, have basic communication, which is really cool. But anyway, the Fusa and the penguins and the Madagascar gang get into a fight, and that's when Alex, in his savage nature, shows up. And right as he's about to kill Marty...
Thanks for not giving up on me, Marty. Man, you almost gave me a heart attack.
So it turns out that Marty was able to snap Alex out of his savage state, and after that, it's literally just an act so that he can scare off the Fusa. And so the Madagascar gang work together to fulfill King Julian's plan, and they end up fighting against the Fusa, saving not only themselves, but also the entire Lemur Kingdom. Which is great because if you've seen the show All Hail King Julian, you will know that at this point in time, their only line of defense, Clover, has decided to disappear. So at this point, they were kind of defenseless to the Fusa. Now they actually have a defense thanks to the Freaks. Unfortunately, even though Alex was snapped out of his savage mode, he was still very hungry. Luckily, the penguins have a very convenient solution. Instead of eating animals, he just eats fish. And so the movie ends with the Madagascar gang getting ready to take the penguins' boat to New York so that they can finally go home.
Don't you think we should tell them that the boat's out of gas?
Nah, just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
So yeah, not only was this movie good, but it very clearly left the door open for sequels, which I think is a great philosophy for DreamWorks to have. As far as they're concerned, they don't really make one film at a time. They plan a franchise out from start to finish, and this was the case with Madagascar. It was always destined to become a trilogy, and thankfully, it reached that ending. And so, Madagascar has gone on to become one of DreamWorks' most successful franchise. And overall, it's thanks to this movie. Not only thanks to its great animation and unique character designs, but also the great writing that had all of the characters interacting with each other, not to mention the upbeat music, especially I Like to Move It. But my personal favorite part is that this movie was not afraid to dive into the savage nature of the real animal kingdom. Not only is it about Alex a lion who is afraid of eating his best friends because if he doesn't, he'll go hungry. And even though he definitely tries, he just can't hold back his savage nature, which is really cool if you ask me. And if you ask me, that part of the movie is probably why this movie is my personal favorite out of the entire Madagascar franchise. But with that in mind, what did you guys think? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments, and be sure to tell me which of the Madagascar movies is your favorite. And if you really want, you can support me through my membership tab on my channel page or clicking the join button down below. Or you can always just do the free option and subscribe. And if you do that, be sure to keep an eye out for when I eventually post my review for the second Madagascar movie, Escape to Africa. But until then, make sure that you're all staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.
Give an emergency. Hey,
Did you help me like this?
lady, what is wrong with you? Get a grip on yourselves, people.
You're a bad kitty.